following podcast is recorded and produced by the Podcast Precinct in affiliation with the network at bicbp-radio.com. The Podcast Precinct. Consistency, creativity, culture.
All episodes of the Nostalgia Funhouse are dedicated to the loving memory of Connie Chirac. Hey, Johnny. I'm glad that you finally showed up.
Oh, yeah, man, I'm sorry. I got lost on the way here. I mean, this is a heck of a line for this show.
Yeah, I heard the show's great.
I've heard nothing but good things. The Talk No Less Politics show. It sounds fantastic to
I
me.
don't think we're staying in line for that one.
That's what
I think it's
what this
I think
is.
No,
Politics? No, let's talk about it. That's what this show's called.
I see a different. Wait.
Okay.
No,
yes,
we're
politics.
No, we're staying in line for the Nostalgia Funhouse.
Oh, you know what? That sounds even better.
Jeez. You know what? They probably got a really great sponsor.
I bet they do.
The all-new edition of Sesame Street Live, Big Bird Goes Hollywood, is coming to the Tri-Cities. KNDU TV invites you to opening night when all seats are just $6. That's a $4 savings. KNDU Family Night will be Friday, November the 18th at 7:30 p.m. at Richland High Auditorium. Get your tickets at the JCPenney Company at the Columbia Center Mall for KNDU Family Night, November the 18th, and the all-new edition of Sesame Street Live.
Well, Johnny, we've since you've come aboard, decided to change the name.
Since you asked me, said Johnny, I love the work you do. I appreciate everything about you. You're one of my closest friends. I think you're a beautiful soul. You said all these things. I'm just quoting you. And would you please be a part of my show? And I graciously said yes. It was not me just forcing myself upon this show. That could not be the truth.
I love having you on the show, but I gotta say, you Seinfeld it.
I 100% Seinfeld.
You were there for me, and now you're just there, and that's why I was like, over like the past couple of months since we've been doing this together, I was like, I want to think of a name that's more fitting for what we do on the show.
Yeah,
more fitting for our topics, and that's why I did switch it over to the Nostalgia Funhouse. And
that's right. We're now the Nostalgia Funhouse, and I'm saying we because I'm including myself.
You should include yourself. You're a big part of this.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me now, Andrew. You've already stepped in it.
We signed some weird contract, like
that's right.
Like selling your soul to the devil. I sold my show to Johnny.
I talked to the Wicked Witch, and she gave me this contract. And she said, "Sign it, my pretty," and here we are.
But before we get into today's topic, I brought this segment up, and you said it would be a great idea.
Yeah, I like this idea a lot.
And it is called Nostalgia Fix or Cash Grab Diss, which means when something comes out, remake, reboot, it gives you that nostalgia fix would be, it gives you that great warm fuzzy feeling inside, and you're like, wow, this is great again. Or cash grab diss just means, hey, these people want to make tons of money and they just don't care, or you feel like they're dissing it.
Yeah.
So Johnny, I'm gonna lay down the new Rob Zombie Netflix The Munsters movie real quick.
Yeah.
Nostalgia fix or cash grab diss.
Okay, so man, all right. I like Addams Family a lot, but as a kid, I was most certainly the Munsters fan of things. That was my show, right? As one of my shows. I loved that show as a kid, and I still love it. It's still really funny. It's still very goofy and campy. Some of the stuff obviously doesn't hold up now because the show's 40, 50 years old now.
Yeah.
So when I first heard that Rob Zombie and his Dragula are going to make this remake, I was concerned, but wanting to be positive, I was going to be hopeful, because in all the interviews I saw of him talking about this, he made sure to point out that he's a big fan of the franchise. He loved the franchise. This was coming from a place of love. And then I found out it wasn't going to be like a rated R thing, and I was like, well, maybe I was getting more, I was getting happier. I was like, well, I'm really going to give this a shot. And then that trailer dropped, and I was like, man, I don't know about this. And the trailer was so poorly received that the movie went from being released to the theaters to saying, hey, we're just going to drop this on Netflix. And I would say smart decision. It is, Andrew, this movie is 2 hours long. It is so long. I caught myself. This is how you know a movie's not good. I was like, man, I was watching it, and I was like, well, I wonder how much is left of this. There can't be that much more left. And I had only seen 25 minutes of it out of the 2 hours, because it just does. It's not good. The problem with trying to remake these classics is when you like any of these properties have this issue where you're casting these iconic roles.
Mhm.
Are they going to be have their own, like, I think if you're going to redo it, you got to kind of put your own little spin to it, or you're just going to be a caricature and fall well short of what everybody considers the original. Herman Munster is a great example of this. The original Herman Munster is honestly one of my all-time favorite just TV characters. He's goofy, he's funny, he's obviously very campy, and he's just despite being a Frankenstein's monster, he just seems to like he always wants to do what's best for his family, right? Like he's a very lovable Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, a gentle giant in a way.
Yes. And so I really love that character a lot. But it's an iconic role because of how it was played, how the actor played that role. It's you have to have a certain presence about you for that to work. Okay, with that being said, this, if all you don't know, if you're listening to this, this is a retelling of how the main 3 characters met. That's the main gist of this movie. It's how Grandpa and Lily and Herman all kind of came together for this family, right? That's the gist of this show or movie. This would be to me, if they'd made this a show, like a 6-episode show, much better idea. I think it could have done better here. A lot of problems that I had with this was, yes, Herman's jokes were always very dad joke like. They're always really dumb and goofy, and he would always be the one laughing at himself for the jokes he made. They try to do that here, but it just doesn't land right. Like it doesn't, and I think it's more of, I think the actor portraying him is a fine actor. I just don't think this part is one of the hardest ones I would think to cast, because he's such a iconic character, and he's iconic way more because of how he was originally portrayed, and that's just tough to recreate, and they're trying to recreate it more than kind of making it their own here. I can't tell what they're going for here. There's a lot of, obviously they're going for camp, big time camp with this, but you can tell. You said something to me when you brought this up, like or did you put it on your Facebook? I can't remember.
It was,
you said that it felt like they were trying too hard.
Yes, that was on my Facebook. It just,
yes,
that is my number one thing. Like with what you're talking about with Herman Munster, he would tell a joke, and of course he would laugh at it, but I don't feel like he ever was like slapping and dominating tables and like.
He would sometimes knock stuff off from his laughing, but they go overboard with it on this.
Okay, yeah. That's the way I felt when I was watching this. It felt more like an episode of, like I told you, big bad Beetleborgs than anything else, where it takes classic Universal monsters and they just go overboard with it instead of classic campiness.
Yeah.
And that
I do want to give a positive. I don't want to be totally negative on this thing. So the positive to me is I love the show Lost. It's one of my all-time favorite shows. I really love that show. And Hurley on Lost, who's the big guy on Lost, was one of my. I love that character too. He's one of I'm talking about favorite characters in TV of recent TV shows. He'd be one of my tops. Is Hurley, and that actor is in this. He's playing like a Igor type character. He's sort of the mad scientist who creates Herman's. He's like his underling who's always the goofy dumb one who keeps making mistakes. That type of character, and he's great in this. Like he's just great. He's really good. I think the guy playing the mad scientist is really good. But these are characters that have nothing to do with the original Munsters. They're nothing to do with it. I don't remember. He may have been a part of it, but I don't remember this character, the Wolfman, who is Lily's brother.
Yeah.
And he's like the son of Grandpa. I don't remember that character from the original show. I mean, he might have been there, but he's a major part of this one. They have an underlying, there's a B story to this that I'm fairly certain the Addams Family movies had already done, in which there's a bad guy who wants to own the place in which the Munsters live. Yeah. That was literally one of the things that happened in one of the Addams Family movies. Like they just lived to that right from that.
I think they try to reinvent the wheel and they made it square.
Yes. Yes.
That's the way I'm thinking. If you were going to do this, like you said, TV show, or if it's a movie, introduce the whole family. Because that was the dynamic. I think a lot of people got brought into it.
And you can do little flashbacks of them meeting or something like that. Yeah. It's man. And I'm also realizing that I'm coming at this from I really love this franchise. Like I have a deep sense of nostalgia for it. So I'm obviously going to be a little bit more harsher on this and probably somebody who's maybe just a casual fan or somebody who just kind of knows it. Because I did see a lot of people on Twitter and online who did like this, who thought it was pretty good. I actually saw somebody say this is one of Rob Zombie's best films. Which if that's true, I have no desire to see anything he's ever done. But that is me. That is my feelings and opinions on it. How much of this have you watched? And neither one of us have finished this yet.
No. You know what? I don't even know. Like I like to do when I'm doing like graphics or I'm editing or something. It's very weird that I do it when I'm like editing audio and stuff.
No, I get it. I like to have stuff in the background.
It was like a background thing. And sometimes I get entranced into it. I mean, the old show made me do a whole retrospective on All in the Family because I was watching All in the Family and I'm like, this is like, I knew it from a little bit and I was like, this is a classic. Watching this was like, oh, this is still on.
Yeah.
And then you messaged me, was like, hey, are you ready to record? I'm like, I'm ready whenever. And I would normally I would probably do that sometimes when I'm watching something, but it's out of like, oh, okay, I'll come back to it. I don't know if I'm going to come back to this. I really don't know. I read the rest of the plot on Wikipedia, and I don't think I want to go back. I'm right if I got nothing else to do.
All right, so I have to finish this for another show that I'm doing.
Okay.
Because we're giving a full review of it, so I have to force myself to finish this. I am an hour and 20 minutes into it.
Okay. Well,
wish me. Thank you. Yeah, wish me best of luck. It takes Herman Munster, who I would argue is the most recognizable character, maybe in TV. Like you have to put him in history. Doesn't even show up for the first half hour of this movie. He's not even there for the first half hour. And then when he is there, the iconic look that he has of the torn jacket, he looks like Frankenstein's monster, of course.
Yeah.
That's the iconic look of Herman as well. And he's barely in that costume in the hour that I saw of him. He's in all kinds of other costumes. They're trying to be goofy and over the top. There's weird camera shots all of a sudden out of nowhere in this too.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene where Grandpa's getting a phone call, and then the camera pans to the phone and just does like a zoom in, zoom out real quick as the phone's ringing. And I was like, it's not even. There were movies that would do jokes like that were a purpose and there was a joke there, but this just didn't make it just wasn't funny. And I was like, man, are we just supposed to laugh because it's like a skull phone, right? Like it just makes sense that he has a skull as a phone to me. Like I get it, you know.
The other thing I brought up to you is if they ever do this again, should it be in black and white? And
yes.
I think yes.
100% it should. And on top of that, if they ever try this again, man, again, I like Rob Zombie's music, so I'm not trying to diss everything the man does. And I do think he really did love the original. But as I was watching this, I just kept thinking how I wish somebody else had done this. Like maybe somebody who because for me, I think you need to approach this as somebody who's familiar with writing a comedy.
Yeah.
And not familiar with writing a horror movie that has comedy in it. I think it's going to be the other way around for this show. And so I was watching this. I was like, man, I wish like any of the guys from who do What We Do in the Shadows or something like that, if they could do like this, but obviously keep it PG. I think it would have been a much funnier movie. Man, obviously for me, it's very obvious. I think this is it's hard to say cash grab because I already assuming they lost money on this, considering they didn't put it out in the theater like they wanted to originally.
Cash
but I know what you're
is like trying.
Yes, yeah. So that's what I'm going to go with. I will finish this, but I do not foresee it has to come a long way to change my mind in the last 40 minutes of this.
Yeah, this is definitely just like the cash grab disc.
And this being the holiday seasons are starting up, we're gonna have a lot of these that we can do. I mean, Hocus Pocus is coming up very soon, the sequel to it.
I don't even want to get into it.
But we're going to do it, Andrew.
I don't want to do it.
I'm going to do it. So I'm at least going to talk about that whenever that comes out. I love the original. I'm a sucker for it. So we're going to see how it goes.
I like just real quick. I like the original as a kid, and then I watch it now, and I'm like, this wasn't as good.
I have very fond memories of it. There's certain movies that when I was a kid, I watched them with my grandma, and I was very, very close to her. And she's been gone now for years. So like these movies just hold a special place for me. Like that one, Homeward Bound, Mulan. There's these movies that I watched with her for the first time that just stick with me. And Hocus Pocus is one of them.
I've never seen Mulan.
I remember honestly going to the movies with my grandma and my parents. And I think my grandpa probably wasn't driving the truck because he wasn't there. But they were like, we're going to see Mulan. And I was like, man, I was a teen. I wasn't even a teenager. I was a kid, but I was a boy. I was like, this is about a Disney princess or whatever. I don't want to see this. And Andrew, I freaking loved it. It's fantastic.
We'll have to tackle that for a movie review. I think at some point.
Yeah, I think so too. But I think we're both agreeing that the Munsters, Rob Zombie's Munsters, is a cash grab for us.
Yes, it is. Just it's horrible. Well, watch it for yourself. Obviously, make your own choice. But
yeah. I would not recommend it personally.
I wouldn't recommend it.
Like I feel like if I'm watching something and it's a slog for me to get through, and I feel like I have to finish it as a quote unquote a work thing, that's not a good review.
The one TV show that I did like when we'll save that for. I think we could save that for another segment or something like that before.
Yeah.
But on to our topic today.
That's right.
Sesame Street, the beloved children's show that's been on since 1969?
For a long nice. That's been it's been for a long time.
I just need the rim.
Andrew, you knew this when I forced myself onto your show.
Yes,
I may be close to 40, but my sense of humor and just myself in general has not got past 12. So.
That is why I need you and Trevor to remake Spies Like Us. I think you two are the most perfect people for that whole entire role.
I want to give me a shot at writing the Munsters. I'll write the new Munsters.
There you go. We should.
Watch it be awful though. Watch it be just as bad as Rob Zombie's.
I don't know if it can be, but Sesame Street, very beloved children's show. I grew up with it. You grew up with it.
I grew up with it. I literally got to watch it, and I have very fond memories of watching it and reading Rainbow in kindergarten. That'd be the two shows that show us during quote unquote nap time. Would be Sesame Street and reading Rainbow. And also, do you remember Wishbone?
Yeah.
and Wishbone. Those are the three that I distinctly remember from PBS as a kid.
I was fortunate enough to live close to the border,
Yeah.
so I got Canadian Sesame Street too.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Oh man.
yeah.
Hey.
That was I actually probably watched more Canadian children's shows
Yeah.
than I did American children's shows.
That makes sense. Well, real quick before we dive into this,
Yes.
Sesame Street. Who are your top three? You don't have to be in an order, but top three
Yeah.
favorite Sesame Street characters.
Oh, you got to go Ernie, Cookie Monster, and oh man, I'm gonna go like humans. I think it's
get it.
tie
No.
between Luis and Gordon.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah,
See, I was only thinking Muppets, but I get that.
Yeah, I kind of like them. Like when they were on, like
Yeah.
I
Very
learned a
important
little.
characters. Yeah.
I learned a little.
All right. Cookie Monster has to be there for me. Obviously, I gotta have Cookie Monster. Man. As a kid, I absolutely loved Big Bird. So I guess I gotta put Big Bird in there. And I'm not going to count Kermit, though he did show up from time to time, but he was always like a little guest star. So I can't count Kermit as an original Sesame Street character, so I won't do that. But I'm going to go with the Count. I really love the Count.
I can't believe they forgot about the Count.
Yeah, he's hey. He's so good. And he kind of ties in with this. I don't know when he actually started showing up, but he's not in this episode. I know that.
No, there's
that would have been a great why didn't the Wicked Witch talk to him? That was so good.
What? But like Johnny said so this Sesame Street episode we're talking about is banned or lost media, and it's episode 847. It originally aired February 10th, 1976, and like Sesame Street had tons of guest stars. They still do today.
Yeah.
This one.
Do you know who the very first guest star was?
Who?
James Earl Jones was the first famous person on there. Yeah.
That's funny because my biggest one that I remember flipping out over as like a kid, as earliest memory, is when R2D2 and C3PO were on there.
I remember that too. Yeah.
It was huge. That was mind blowing for me. This one guest star was Margaret Hamilton, who reprised her role as the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
And
an iconic villain from just in pop culture in general, right?
yeah, we don't like her, but
and it's really wild the story behind this.
it's
Her background is actually in education before she even got into acting. She was a teacher. She was a big proponent of education, obviously. She really pushed for it. And it's just so wild that she got this character that became also iconic. And they were like, hey, let's have her on Sesame Street. And I bet she was thinking, man, this is going to be great, right? Like, obviously, I guarantee she loves Sesame Street for what it stood for and all this stuff. And then she does the show, which, you can go, it's on YouTube. You can find this show, the entire hour-long episode. She shows up in segments throughout it.
Yeah, or you could find the ones where it's just the clips.
No, don't tell them that. They're going to suffer like we did and watch the entire hour. I won't say suffer. That hour was better than the Munsters for me.
Yeah. I learned
a lot about the letter I.
Yes. Well, it was also brought to you by the letter Z and the number 9.
That's right, and the number 9. I remember that very much.
I like that "I on the Island" song.
Yeah, yes,
kind of stuck in my head there for a little bit.
There's also a song too. It's not in my head anymore, but I was singing along to it where it had the animals and there was like birds on the animals. That one really was very catchy. But man, yeah,
it's great.
If you watch it now, it's hard to understand why it was banned because obviously, especially by today's standard, this thing is G rated all the way.
Oh yeah, and it all starts with there's a storm, and I didn't even know this guy existed. A guy named David who's outside of Mr. Hooper's shop, which is another great Sesame Street episode. I think would like to discuss is the whole Mr. Hooper thing.
Oh yeah.
And
we can do that when I feel like crying.
Yeah. And a broom comes down, he catches it in the most dramatic superhero way possible because this thing is flying from the air, but he catches it one-handed and kind of does a little thing. And it ends up being the Wicked Witch of the West broom. David has it. She comes down. She tries to take it from him, but she cannot take it. Here's the plot twist. She cannot take it from him if he's holding it.
Yeah, she can only take it if nobody's touching it.
Yeah, that was the interesting thing.
Yes.
So that's pretty much it. Like,
so if you look into the background, the idea they had for bringing her on was how do you deal with quote unquote a bully in a positive manner? How do you deal with conflict, that type of thing? And when I was watching this, that's what I was trying to look at this from. Like, what mess? Because obviously Sesame Street, they're always trying to teach. What are they trying to teach here? And to me, it was just way more entertaining than teaching anything. So maybe they kind of failed a little bit on that, but
because another one that what they were talking about is the show was like, I watched a guy did a video about this and how it actually got re-released and everything else. Is kind of like another win for the internet warriors type deal. The show was about fear and planning.
I
just didn't
the fear would be just her character, I think, because most kids obviously know Wizard of Oz, but and she is obviously a major villain. One of the YouTube videos I watched on the history of this also said that a lot of the complaints that the parents would say was kids were waking up screaming, "I don't want to get turned into a basketball."
Because she tells David that she's going to turn him in, and
which to me is scarier what she tells Big Bird. She's going to turn him into like a feather duster. That's way worse.
But it's funny how she goes by doing this. And I think it was more what you were leaning towards, like how to deal with a bully or, somebody trying to take something, even though it's theirs, like to ask nicely. Because all David keeps on saying is, if you ask nicely, I'll give it to you. So she could have ended it, but she's a wicked witch.
Yeah, but she's a villain. That. Yeah.
So she gets mad and she makes it rain in Mr. Hooper's store.
But she still kind of gets her way.
Yeah, but she has to ask nicely, though, at some point.
But she doesn't ask nicely as the Wicked Witch. She's, quote unquote, pretending to be an old lady. And
but they figured her out, though.
Spoiler alert. But she still thinks she's getting away with it.
But isn't that kind of like one of those things where sometimes it's good to just let people think one?
Yeah. I'm just saying,
it's better. Kind of like
like you do with me on the show. Yeah.
Is in the Bronx Tale. I like where he talks to him about the guy that owes him $20 and he's like, hey, he owes me $20 and he keeps on ducking me. He's like, do you even like that dude? He's like, no, I don't like him at all. He's like, well, whatever, think about it. It costs you $20 to get rid of him. Call it breaking even. All right. So he made the witch feel like she won and she got a broom and he
doesn't have to deal with her anymore. Yeah.
But can we talk about the warrior up Big Bird outside of the store when the witch was there with the hockey stick and the baseball bat?
He was going to beat her senseless.
That is the most. I want an action figure of that Big Bird.
The Big Bird we all know and love was going to beat that witch senseless.
He was going to go Casey Jones on her. Louisville Slugger, Jose Canseco. Well, no, it would have been, we'll do Reggie Jackson because it's 1976.
I bet he didn't pay money for that.
But that was like the craziest thing I got out of this was
that was so great. The craziest thing I got out of this was Grover trying to give this guy his alphabet soup, but that guy kept complaining that it was missing letters. I would have just thrown that soup in that guy's face. He got tired of it.
I didn't have a feeling you're gonna be. But that was always like the shtick, I thought, with that guy. The other one was like Oscar just purely hitting on the Wicked Witch of the West.
I love that part.
He was like, "Hey, how are you?" Kind of like, "Hey, how are you doing?" As he
I think I'm in love.
As he creeps out of the trash can.
Because she's just obviously mean to him, but that's if you're Oscar the Grouch, that's what you're looking for.
But like you said, it was just I got to talk about the ending as she does no hands and she loses the broom again. And David is crying that he cannot do it again.
Yes.
Poor David. But
So did David really win?
no, David, that's probably why we never grew up with David on Sesame Street, because he probably was like, I can't do it again
I
after
can't
this
do
episode.
this anymore.
I'm done. I'm out. Bring in Luis or somebody else.
Yeah.
Man, we're good.
I feel bad for David. Oh man. But let's also talk about how in this episode the Cookie Monster is a genius.
Oh, I love the cookie detector.
He brings out a cookie detector with Ernie. And he goes, hey, I made this cookie detector. Can tell you how many cookies are in something without having to open it up and see. So he looks into the cookie jar, Ernie's cookie jar, and he goes, oh, there's 5 cookies in here. And then Ernie's like, oh, man, that's really cool. Can I see that? And, Cookie Monster's like, sure, here you go. And as, Ernie's paying attention to that, Cookie Monster is just smartly just eating up all those cookies. It's a genius move.
I would do that.
Yeah, it's just smart. But then that detector was really great though. He could detect in Cookie Monster how many cookies he ate.
Yeah, in his stomach.
Yeah, that's impressive.
It's so sad. I can remember if there's 5.
There was 5 cookies. Yep.
I actually there's a Muppet Wikipedia page on this, like a Muppet Wiki.
Before you get into that real quick, also I have I think it's because of my love of animation. I really love those little animated shorts they have in Sesame Street. They're just all teaching you stuff like the letter I and stuff like that, but they're just really cool. I really like those.
I was waiting for the pinball.
Yes. Yeah.
Always wait for the pinball. I got to do a meme of that where it's like scientists say you can't hear pictures, but I can hear that. Like even if you put up that letter 12, I can listen.
Yeah.
But they have some letters here that are very. Let's see if I can't find a short.
Like letters from the parents.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Recently, I noticed the number of programs that have quite. This is from somebody in Dallas, Texas. Oh, fitting I picked this one. Recently noticed the number of programs that have quite a bit of dealing with witches, crystal balls, and etc. For this reason, this concerns me. That witches are not make believe, and they do exist in what is called Satanism and Satan worship. Possibly this fact was overlooked.
Oh man. All right. So I did see a thing where it talked about one of the problems that this episode in particular had, was it came out during the Satanic Panic.
Oh,
and
yeah.
For those who don't know, that was a time where Satanism, everybody thought it was going to take over basically. And people were just mainly Christians were very afraid of this, right? I grew up in a Mennonite church, and and I'll say I was very lucky the church I grew up in, because it kind of formed who I am, and I'm very happy for it. But also in my life, I've met people who consider themselves Wiccans and stuff, and everyone that I've ever met has been awesome. So, so it's just a stupid panic thing that a lot of really good people probably really got hurt for it. But so that was the timing of it coming out was one of the major things. Not only was it scaring children, it really legit scared kids, I'm sure, but that letter you just read was they got a lot of letters about that too, because of when it came out.
Yeah, here's from San Diego, California. I really disapprove of some of the monsters you have. Some are cute, and then in parentheses, they're kind of just adding this Grover and Cookie Monster, which is true. That is true.
They are adorable.
But I'll let that pass. And
thank you.
And then came the day you added the count to your program.
Oh, this person just jump off a bridge.
And then the witch. It seems to me that one can dwell on more. One can dwell on a more positive side of light than these occult symbols.
Oh, good God. The Count was literally a character who just counted stuff, and he just happened to be like a vampire, but it was obvious he was not really a vampire. He's a freaking puppet, for crying out loud. And this also, though, says that he was around when she was around.
Yeah.
So they missed an opportunity there. How did these two not meet?
Oh, here's one, because she did end up she was on Mr. Rogers a lot.
Yes. I do know the story real quick.
Yeah.
Because of this, all this that happened, Fred Rogers had her on his show to kind of show kids that what acting is, and that she was playing make believe. That was like the first time she showed up on that, was because of this.
Yeah. This is Gorton, Massachusetts. My 3.5-year-old son has been very disturbed and frightened by the witch episodes. He had seen it before, and we talked about it because it did, I think, re-air maybe once or twice.
Yeah.
After this, then Mr. Rogers devoted an entire show to explaining her make-believe qualities, but her reappearing in a repeat today has reinforced his fear. Now, as a parent,
Yes,
would you have talked to your child about that? Be like, remember what Mr. Rogers said? This is just she's an actor playing a part in a way.
Yeah, the Wicked Witch is not a real thing.
Yeah. And you know what's funny is my mom was huge in Wizard of Oz, to the point where it was like, when I'm pretty sure most families were, like, when it was on TV.
Oh yeah, it would come. It was kind of like a holiday special, right? It would come on once a year, it seemed like, and we watched it all the time as a family.
And she always told us she was more afraid of the flying monkeys than the witch.
Yeah, they're much creepier.
Okay.
Much creepier. The creepiest part about her is when she melts at the end.
Yeah, that was the other part.
That's scarier to me.
How is she still alive? Did she reanimate? Like, that's more scary than anything else. That's my question, is did she reanimate? Wow, this one is a little girl that wrote it. Or a little girl named Hillary, 3.5 years old. I do not like that witch to be on Sesame Street. Please don't have it there anymore. I'm scared of it. I like that one.
I like that one. I appreciate that one the most.
That one hits. I'm like, yeah, okay, Hillary. I'm sorry, Hillary. I'm sorry you had to go through that. I did ask my aunt, who was, I don't know if she was watching Sesame Street at this time, because here's a lady that's quoting Bible verses.
Oh man, I bet she's fun at parties.
I'll just read. Many people feel witches are merely a harmless childhood fantasy, or speak of witches as a symbol of evil struggling against good. But Glenda proved that wrong when she asked,
because she's a good witch.
Are you a good witch? Or are you a good witch? Glenda said that. I'm going with Glenda.
I'm going with Glenda as well. That definitely reminds me of, obviously, I'm not going to tell you how to practice your faith, whatever your faith is. You do it however you feel. As long as you're not hurting anybody, I don't care. But I definitely remember as a kid that there was this one house, and we only made this mistake once, that had their porch light on Halloween for the sole purpose of when kids would show up, so they could tell you that it was a pagan holiday and we shouldn't be trick-or-treating, and they wouldn't give out candy. That was the sole reason for it. And I remember being, what? I was a child just wanting candy. That's all it was. And I didn't have the heart, because I wasn't smart enough back then to tell her that a lot of the Christmas things that we do for traditions kind of came from pagans.
Yeah, kind of like the lights and everything.
Yeah, and the trees.
Yeah. In reality, witches are neither products of fantasy nor symbols, but real powerful, destructive followers of Satan I like how I'm reading this, who put themselves and others under terrible bondages.
Oh,
so we have Exodus 22:18.
Okay, all right.
I think it's oh my goodness, Leviticus,
yeah,
1931.
That's a good year.
Oh, and also Leviticus 20, 20, 26, and 27, Deuteronomy 18, 18, 9 through 14, and 1 Samuel 15 and 23.
All right, so I did find Leviticus 19:31 because that's the one I can remember because it sounded like a year.
Yeah.
Do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. That's what that was saying.
Really?
Yeah. Or give no it's the same thing, just different.
I don't know how. Do you have the Bible app on your phone too?
I Googled it.
Oh, you Googled it? Oh, I have the Bible app.
I used to have the Bible app on here, but I don't have it anymore.
I can't get rid of it. I'm like afraid.
No, I get it. I have I literally have 5 or 6 Bibles, and I've never gotten rid of one of them.
I have a trunk from the Marine Corps, and like in boot camp, they would just hand them out, or like when we were overseas, and I still have them all because I can't.
I have this weird feeling of karma, and I was like, I just can't do it.
So Exodus 22:18 is do not allow sorceress to live. I think
God.
so. What I'm gathering from a lot of these letters,
They want the Sesame Street to have the witch on, but murder her viciously.
yes, or I'm a housewife or something, and I'm trying to occupy my time. And I'm not trying to sound sexist or anything like that, because it reminds me of an episode of Barney Miller, great classic show.
Yes, yeah. Yes.
Where this lady, she was by herself and she would watch soap operas, and then she would go to the police station and report the crimes, but talk about the actor. This is what it kind of reminds me of. And I know it,
like out of all the problems that were going on and even the world back then, is this the thing you want to waste your time being upset about?
That is what I'm trying to get at. Like, I understand it scared kids, but you know what? The boogeyman on the Real Ghostbusters scared the crap out of me.
I honestly, as a kid, I was petrified of that hand from the Hamburger Helper. That thing scared the tar out of me. So, I remember being a little kid, and like just my imagination running wild. I was like, did I just see a little hand running across the floor? And it just freaked me out that he was going to grab my feet.
It is the craziest thing. My thing was the boogeyman from the Real Ghostbusters cartoon.
Well, see, that makes sense because that is really creepy.
Creepy. And my brother's was when he was younger, because he grew up in the Star Wars age of being able to actually collect the original ones. Bib Fortuna, he would have to, one of my parents would have to put into a drawer at night. He could have Bib Fortuna for the day.
Yeah.
But at night, he put it away. So he was probably really happy at the end of Mandalorian season 2 when he watched Bib Fortuna die.
Yeah.
He was probably like, the nightmare is over. He probably went outside, took a breath.
Well, that's part of childhood though. Like, right. Like being afraid of stuff and overcoming those fears. I mean, who wasn't a kid who was afraid of a closet, right? Like I was afraid of the dark when you're first
basement, man. Ooh.
Yeah. The basements, it's just all a part of childhood. And depending on, some of us obviously luckier than others with who our parents were. I was very fortunate. I know you were very fortunate. Mm-hmm. And they would use these moments to teach and stuff like that. And, kind of take those fears away, but it's part of growing up is being afraid of these weird small things. They don't really, when you grow up, you're like, man, why was I afraid of that? Yeah.
Here's one. The program contained one witch. My 3-year-old was pale as a ghost. So it was so worried about Big Bird that he had trouble falling asleep ever since. I would hate to delete Sesame Street from my child's day, but the nightmares are not worth it. Now, this one's interesting because did she watch the show with him? Because if you watch the show, at the end, Big Bird's like, I kind of like her.
Yeah. He was very positive about her.
Yeah.
And thought she was interesting or something. I think he said used some word like that. Yeah.
So either the kid ran out of the room,
he wasn't afraid of her.
Or I've been guilty of it myself. The TV was the babysitter.
And if you watch the episode, the scariest thing she does is she makes it rain indoors.
Yeah.
And which is they just go outside and they're dry, and that's all they had to do. Even though I'd be more mad than scared because you're just ruining all the stuff inside.
Mhm.
But that's just me thinking as an adult. As a kid, I would be like, whatever.
As a kid, I would think, could it rain inside here? Because I was always that kid that got yelled at for the opening the
Yeah.
umbrella in the house.
Well, the scariest part to me would be like the stuff that happened to her, like when she tried to grab the broom and it would like shock her or whatever.
Yeah.
That's by far the scariest part. Like just as a show, as the episode's going through, that's just happening to her, the bad person.
And I like how you explain the satanic panic, because I completely kind of like forgot about that.
Well, that's my history creep side. Coming
Yeah,
in.
I was gonna say this is your history creeps plug right here.
Yeah.
But whoa, David got into legal troubles.
Oh.
I was like looking to see where it was.
This is a great thing about Googling as we're recording, you just discovering this stuff. Do we want to know what he got in trouble for?
I don't know.
Maybe there's a reason why
I don't know
on
why
the show.
my thought. Gotta read over this before I just was like, what happened to David from Sesame Street? Because he seemed like a big character on the show.
He's a major part of this episode, especially.
So I wanted to know. Whoa,
this sounds not good.
Okay, so if you go to Wikipedia, I did not read any of this, but it goes to legal troubles, health problems, final years on Sesame Street, and then the next little section is mental health and death.
Oh,
so obviously David had some problems.
Yeah.
That's why he's not on the show. So
for this episode alone, he was fine.
Wait, he was on until 1989?
I don't remember him, but I was born in 83. Kindergarten's when you're 5. So maybe he was just going off of it when I started watching it. I can't.
Yeah.
The timing might have been just like that. I don't know.
Okay. So
I mean, when I was watching it, like Elmo wasn't a major part of it either.
No.
I mean, he became the big star.
The Elmo Muppet does show and follow. The puppet shows up and follow that bird, but it's not. They don't consider it Elmo.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I feel good that I know what happened to David.
Yeah.
Or Northern Conway, as his actor name is.
Yeah. Man.
I'll let Sleeping Dog on that one.
I do want to do an episode one day just on PBS shows in general.
Oh, the PBS shows were so great.
What's the story, Wishbone? What's that you're dreaming of?
I loved Ghost Rider.
Yes, yeah. Obviously, I was a big fan of Bill Nye the Science Guy. There are a lot of shows on there that I really watched and liked a lot.
I want to do TV Scientist because I just did a graphic on that.
Yeah.
And like, if I had to rank them, Bill Nye is like the bottom. And
Bill Nye now will be the bottom because he seems very pretentious to me, but like his show really taught me a lot. It was very kind of goofy in how it taught you with stuff, which I appreciate. But as you get older and you realize that he's like, I don't care what you believe, that's fine. Again, as long as you're not hurting anybody. But he seems very pretentious about it to me. But I loved his show growing up.
He projects it.
Yes.
Okay.
He may be a super nice guy in person. I've never met him. I don't know. But yeah. That'd be another fun episode. Let's talk about TV scientists. You know?
I loved Beekman's World. It was amazing.
Oh yes.
I thought
and we got to talk about the two Muppets,
and the original for me, Mr. Wizard.
Yeah. Oh man, there's all kinds of good.
He had a
ones.
computer. That was so amazing. Back in like the late 80s. I was like, or mid 80s. Yeah, it was probably mid 80s. Mid to late 80s. Cause like I remember a lot of stuff because like I said, I have an older brother, so I picked up from him. But he had a computer. That was absolutely amazing.
One thing I noticed about the difference in watching something as a kid and watching something as an adult is now when I see something, if I would have saw it when I was a kid, I would have been like, man, I really want that. That's so cool. But now as an adult, I'll look at that and be like, man, I bet that costs so much money.
Yeah.
That's all I think about. There was this thing on TikTok, I think it was, but somebody put it on Twitter and it was just this person's video game setup and had all the cool systems there. And I was like, man, that is really cool. But like that person's got to be making some really good money is all I could think about to be able to afford all that stuff.
This one was another interesting one. I was just reading the first line. Now I want to read the rest. It's another letter. Canyon Park, California, February 11th, 1976. I was waiting for some redeeming value to come out of the show, but there was none of As a matter of fact, the show ended with the witch flying home and dropping the broom, which landed back on Sesame Street. David picked it up and started whining, "Oh no, looks like she'll be back." I kind of gotta agree with her on that one. Like,
Yeah, the end, like,
should they have just ended
let her
it,
fly off. Yeah,
like we're done? Okay.
I think so. Yeah,
And then maybe did like a little He-Man G.I. Joe thing at the end, explaining
yeah,
like He-Man coming out.
right. Yeah,
That would be cool if He-Man actually did come out on this episode. I would. Okay, but that's neither here for this. But like sometimes
talk about a metaverse. That'd be one heck of a metaverse. Well, Sesame Street, like we said, did have a lot of characters show up. So Dolph Lundgren may.
I think that's the only one that I've looked at. No, that's not He-Man. That's not. Stop right now. Stop. I swear, if one of these days I get a message from you and you're like, for a movie review, and you're like, let's do Masters of the Universe, I'm like, Johnny, we need to talk.
If I do that, I give you permission to make me watch the first Michael Bay Ninja Turtles movie.
Oh my
God. Side note, the second one is a lot more fun, and I forgive it way more than that first one.
Yeah. I didn't like Brad Garrett as Crane.
Yeah.
I didn't like that, but I liked how they brought that.
And I like Will Arnett in general, so him being involved is fine.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But I think that's a nice little nifty tied up bow on this.
Yeah, we've done it. The first episode of the new name of the show,
the Nostalgia Funhouse.
The Nostalgia Funhouse. The Nostalgia Funhouse.
That's what I was kind of going with.
Yeah.
I kind of did. I went with. Remember SNL?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, like doing that. That's what I was like. What kind of could go with that? And then I was like, let's do this. But this is, like I said, very first episode of the Nostalgia Funhouse, and I think Sesame Street is a great place to go with nostalgia, even though this is kind of a creepy one, but it is Halloween, so
yeah. So we got some fun plans for the month of the spookiness. We got a lot of fun stuff in store for you, so stay tuned for all of that, including an extensive and very detailed review of the new Hocus Pocus.
Oh my goodness! On our segment, Nostalgia Fix or Cash Grab Disc. Oh my goodness! I think anything better would be better than Munster.
Hey, that original, that Sarah Jessica Parker turned me into a man. All right.
You learned what a virgin was in a Disney movie.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
They were
I realized I was one when I was watching it.
I felt the same way. Well, there you go. So remember, you could check. This is the Nostalgia Funhouse now. The name change by the time this airs will be in full effect. Find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I think that's it. Or, and listen to us still every Sunday, BICBP Radio Network, because we can't leave the network. We cannot do that.
No. Unless somebody offers us a lot of money.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I would sell out in a second.
I think I would sell out.
We would definitely be a cash grab this.
I'd buy like Matt a Kurt Angle cameo.
Oh yeah, I'd get
of him saying, hey, Andrew and Johnny, like to thank you for all you've done for him, but they're leaving the network because they just got a bunch of money, and here you go. But they love you. See you later. And that's all.
That would be the conversation I'd have to have with Matt and Chris. Like, I really love you guys, but they're offering us a lot of money over here. Like, I'll get you a nice Christmas gift.
We're talking money.
Yeah, we're talking actual dollars. You know what I'm making right now from these podcasts? Lunch on occasion. That's from my own Patreons.
You're making more than me. I was thinking about starting a Patreon for this one, so
let's do it. I need more lunch, Andrew.
I just need anything. I need anything.
Let's talk about that off air for real. But yeah, Again, Andrew, thank you for letting me work my way onto the show. But thank you to all you who listen. I know I can speak for Andrew when I say we very much appreciate each and every one of you. It means a lot to us.
Yes, it does. And thank you once again. I'm still going to keep the same ending because I think it's the greatest nostalgia ending I can remember because I love the Truman Show. And that is good morning, good afternoon, and good night.
I'll get you, my pretty.